Hello and welcome back to the Tupac Murder Trial from Fame Under Fire from BBC Sounds with me, Anoushka Mutanda-Dougherty. The prosecution have officially rested their case. They are done presenting their witnesses and their facts to the jury, and it will begin the defence tomorrow. But we did have a few more things that we witnessed go into evidence today, and I want to talk about them because it's something I haven't seen before. One of the clips that we were played of Duane Keffe D Davis today as the prosecution were finishing up was actually from the trial. It was a televised clip of him that was taken just after Reggie Wright Jr. had testified. This is what it looks like.
At that time when Reggie Wright Jr. is sitting in front of the witness stand, that Mr. Davis is mouthing words at Reggie Wright Jr. Yes.
Now, it wasn't played with any sound. There isn't sound that accompanies that clip, but it has been doing the rounds on social media. And social media has claimed that Duane Keffe D Davis is calling Reggie Wright Jr. a rat after he testified against him in the trial. Now, that was shown to the jury, but it wasn't said this is what he was saying. They didn't allege that he was saying he was calling him a rat or anything else. We asked defense attorney Sanft about it afterwards, and he says, you know, I saw the clip. He's not saying in it what social media has decided he's saying, but Sanft didn't say as to what he thought his client might have been mouthing in court. That's all the commentary that we had on that. If it pops back up at closing arguments, we will let you know if the prosecution say anything more about it. But the jury were shown that today, amongst other things. And those other things were things we've been talking about for a very long time. So if you remember, the prosecution's theory is that Duane Keffe D Davis is essentially told on himself in his own book, published in 2019, Compton Street Legend, where he alleges he was the architect of the crime that killed Tupac Shakur. Now, they played clips from VladTV interview, which we've been telling you guys about since the beginning, since our first episodes on this Tupac Murder Trial, where he talks about the veracity of the book, and he claims this is the truth. He holds it up and says, this is my book, go and get my book if you want to know the truth of what happened that night. And then the interviewer in that Vlad TV interview begins to read a section of the book where he recounts the tale of going to the car of Eric Zip Martin and Foxy Brown being in the front seat of the car and him getting handed a Glock 40. And Keffe D repeats once again, get the book. You need to get the book. I want you to buy the book. Do you have $20? Get your $20 and go and buy the book.
This is my book here. I would like you guys to buy it and get the real truth instead of from a cop or some industry people. So go get the book, you know, and you can get the real truth about this whole situation.
They also played us a couple more of those jail phone calls. Now, we heard some of those in opening statements before when they were talking about the visceral anger that Duane Keffe D Davis had to this day about Tupac Shakur, where he's heard saying on the phone, he's not an icon, he beat up a kid, and then he calls him a flurry of slurs and makes some allegations against Tupac.
Police and all little girls jumping on little kids in the hallway. I don't want none of my kids like that.
And you can hear the level of anger that he has against him. And the prosecution are using this to say, if he's this angry in the 2020s, imagine how angry he was on the night that the beating at the MGM took place. So that's their motive that they've been speaking to throughout this trial. I do just want to add, though, when you make a jail phone call and you are an inmate, you are repeatedly told during the phone call that it's being recorded, before, during, and at the end. So Duane Keffe D Davis would have been aware that those phone calls were being recorded. However, we did hear clips of him saying things like this. Yes, I wrote the book. I was paid to say that. They can't use that against me because I was paid.
They try to use my statements against me. You're gonna lose, dude. I was paid to say that, stupid ass dude. Yeah.
Okay.
I was paid to say that. You can't use my against me, you stupid.
And then what's this book they say you wrote?
Yeah, I did.
And then he also says, quote, I have blood on my money.
I got blood on my money.
Now, after this, the prosecution rested their case, so they are done presenting their case to the jury. Then the judge began to read Keffe D his rights and said, you have the right to testify. You can get up on the stand. This means that you will be cross-examined by the prosecution. It also means you can be cross-examined on any felonies you have from the past 10 years. The prosecution clarified that there would only be one that was relevant, and that was something he started serving in 2016. And then Keffe D, he spoke again. He said, yeah, Judge, I understand what you're saying. And then after they brought up the felony in 2016, he said this.
Is that why they sent them to attack me?
I understand that's your position, that happened, but ultimately, I don't know anything about that case. I've never looked at it, okay?
Okay,
All right.
And now, if it looks a little lighter in the day, that's because it is. It was literally a 35-minute court session because the defense wasn't actually ready to begin presenting their case. The witnesses that they needed were not there today. So the prosecution rested, and we got a little bit more of a clue from the defense about what's going to happen. Duane Keffe D. Davis is not going to be testifying. Sam said, I think we've heard enough from Duane Keffe D. Davis, which is probably a fair assessment. There's going to be a couple of Metro police officers, Las Vegas Metro police officers from 1996 who are going to take the stand and testify for the defendant. And when I spoke to Sam afterwards, he said he was just cleaning up some of the prosecution's case, clarifying some things by putting them on the stand. But this is not going to be a long presentation. They start tomorrow at 12, and we think they could be ready for the rebuttal experts at 2 tomorrow. So a very, very short case being put on by the defense. And then closing, they said, closing arguments on Monday, which probably looks like a verdict next week. Now, afterwards, Michael Sampt came downstairs. He was doing a bit of a presser, and I caught up with some of what he was saying about the strength of the case and some of what he had to say about when somebody's words matter.
Michael, you've heard the phrase, man's word is his bond. Should a man's own word be enough to convict him?
So there was a movie called Jerry Maguire, and in that movie, there's a guy who shakes the hand of Jerry Maguire and says, "My word is my bond," and then he screws him right after. So in essence, we live in a world today that if you don't write it down on a piece of paper and attest something to be true and correct to the best of your knowledge, then it's just a word.
But isn't that exactly what he did with his book, and then testified to the veracity of it multiple times in public interviews?
I don't think he did. You might want to double check that.
So are you saying that his word isn't worth the paper it's written on, even now today?
What?
Are you saying that his word is not worth the paper that it's written on, even today?
I think anyone's word is not worth the paper that it's written on until such time as it's proven to be true.
He also revealed during that small presser that he has not spoken to Suge Knight, that Suge Knight did not give an interview to the defense, but that he did do a 2-hour interview with the prosecution. Sam said he'd made a few different attempts to contact him, but they had not sat down together. But yeah, Suge Knight has spoken and done an interview with the prosecution, but he, of course, was not called as a witness for the prosecution. And we know that he said he does not want to testify in this trial. Other than that, there was a bit of excitement at the beginning of the day because the singer Cameron turned up in the overflow room that we go into to enter the lottery to get into the courtroom. And people were taking pictures with him, and then he got in the courtroom, and I maybe he didn't find the trial that interesting because he nodded off quite quickly. But really, those were the moments of the day. It was a short but impactful finish for the prosecution, and it will be interesting to see what the defense put on. We know their central line is you cannot trust what Duane Keffe D. Davis has said about what Duane Keffe D. Davis has done in his book and podcast or otherwise. But there's clearly some more that they want to get out of Metropolitan police officers who were working that night in 1996. And if we remember Sam's overarching argument, there are no material facts and there are no witnesses that can place Duane Keffe D. Davis in Las Vegas on the night of the 7th September 1996. So that is it for this episode of the Tupac Murder Trial from Fame Under Fire by BBC Sounds with me, Anoushka Mutanda-Dougherty. Please support this channel, please like, hype and subscribe. We're going to be doing daily updates every day here from Las Vegas, a trial that's 30 years in the making. You don't want to miss it.